When people tell me they don't get what it is that they want from AI, it is because they're not communicating. Yeah. So right now for me, it's how do I leverage the projects in ChatGPT to train it more so that it gets better as opposed to me having to allocate funds to third-party tools.
I will say, based on everything that we've discussed before, who am I not considering that I should? And who is the most overlooked person that most people don't reach out to?
It's business intel that used to cost substantially more money that we can get for little to no cost. What's going on, world? And this is your girl. And of course, we're going to always talk about artificial intelligence. However, I decided I wanted to go back to some of my favorite interviews and catch up to see how people are now doing what it is that they were doing successfully, but taking it even to the next level, leveraging artificial intelligence. And my new love affair is with all things LinkedIn. And I had to go back to Deborah Ashley to catch up to see how she is leveraging artificial intelligence with all things LinkedIn. How you doing today, Deborah?
Good. How are you, Marky? Great to be back.
Look, I'm elated to have you back because you are still killing it over on LinkedIn. And I have a renewed passion for LinkedIn and all of the possibilities when it comes to lead generation. And so when was the first time you decided when did you even start leveraging AI, period?
Well, I've been that person from the beginning. I'm all about anything new that comes out. Right now, it's starting to get overwhelming. But when it was just ChatGPT, I was there right in the beginning, just because I like to see what the different things are. And I think even right before ChatGPT, because then they had the content AIs, but ChatGPT was the first one that I fell in love with. And from there, I've been using that a lot. Obviously, using Claude. So what is it? 3 years? Is it 2 or 3 years ago? Because it was right around this time. Whenever it was like. It was like November and then
It was November 2022. And here's the thing. I was at home minding my good business and I heard Gary Vee and Charlene Johnson talk about it in the same week.
Wow.
And I bookmarked it and I said, okay, I'm going to come back and check it out. And the beginning of December, I came and I checked it out and I've been hooked ever since the first time. Because instantly it was a business tool.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, and it's smart. And the output was so fast. I was like, oh my God. And like right now, we said that it can be overwhelming. And it can because there's so many tools, but I am a diehard ChatGPT user.
Mm-hmm.
Diehard.
Yeah. Same.
So you come over. You're an early adopter of ChatGPT. And can you recall when you believe you were hooked on it?
Let's see. I think because I did a training on how to take one piece of content. I didn't even I did the training. I didn't practice ahead of time. I didn't do anything ahead of time. So it was like how to take one piece of content and create 50 pieces of content from there. Like I had conversations and I saw that happening. And I was like, I'm going to try this in front of the audience on LinkedIn. So I took one of my old blog posts and then I said, let's develop 5 tweets from it. And then the more others started to get excited, the more I got even more excited. And then, of course, I was using it for everything else where we discussed kind of offline Gen X, right? As we get older now, we start to lose muscle mass, which requires us to have more protein. I know this is not business related, but everything about our health is. So now I even plug into ChatGPT. Hey, I need to have a high protein diet because I'm this age and this is going on. What do you suggest? So it spits out recipes that are high protein. I just mixed in cottage cheese with my eggs yesterday, and it tastes great. So yeah, little things like that that we don't even think about. And remember initially when it was all about use this prompt. So of course I was spending all of my time trying to use other people's prompts to get things to work, and it never just really worked. until I was just like, I'm just having a conversation with this tool. And that's for me how it really works out is when I kind of treat it as like an assistant or a friend. And I tell them, I say them, do you have a name yet? So yeah, I tell the tool exactly what I want, and then it just spits out whatever I need from it.
So what I love is that you said just having a general, well, one, repurposing the content that you already have had. So you were always a content creator, even when I interviewed you before. So
Yeah.
now you have the possibilities to go back to that content and repurpose that content into 50 or more pieces of content, right?
Mhm.
And in the world of real estate, April is National Fair Housing Month. And a lot of the presentations I'm doing this month on fair housing is leveraging artificial intelligence for the visual and audio impaired,
Oh, I love that.
right? But it's everything that you're already doing, okay?
Mhm.
But we could take that even an additional step. Not only can we repurpose it for people who might have visual or audio impairment, but we also can translate it into the languages that are growing in the communities in which we serve.
For sure. For sure.
We couldn't do that before. And then the second thing is this conversation. And we all talk faster than we write.
Hmm.
So if I'm to sit down and I'm going to write out or type in a prompt, right? That means that I'm not going to give it as many details as I would if I was to just have a conversation
For sure. For
with
sure.
it. And so many people are worried about artificial intelligence dummying us down. And I'm gonna tell you this is a harsh observation I came up with. Over the past weekend, I was hanging out with my family and I instantly realized that common sense is not common. Now I say that quite a bit. But there were some things that I saw that I was just baffled by the lack of common sense or better yet, consideration
Hmm.
for people around us, right?
Okay.
And if we are considerate people and we're thoughtful people, we already know that our tone comes across as being considerate and thoughtful.
Right.
So when we're talking to AI, it is actually allowing us to come across as being more thoughtful and considerate
Yes.
because
Right.
that's who we were as people. And I'll give you one example. We went to a breakfast restaurant. There were 5 of us. And I was standing like in this corner. And the young lady came and said, "Excuse me," to move me out the way for her to stand in the corner, in the spot that I was standing in.
Uh-huh.
Right. And I'm like, but for what? Right. I'm like, this is high level stupidity. But she got a whole gang of people with her. So I'm going to step my old self to the side.
Okay.
So then she wants to see something. So she leans back towards me and says, "Excuse me," again. Right. And I tell her, you need to make a decision on where you're going to stand.
Good for you.
Right. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. It was the next one was the young lady who got in the turnstile and then stand still so that she could look at her telephone. And I said to myself, people worried about AI dummying us down. No, they already dumb.
It's already here. Yeah, we can't do anything about a few select few.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not, they can do nothing with AI,
Right. Right.
right? But people who've developed the skill set, who understand the language, who know the words to tell it what to do, people who have a developed skill set
Mhm.
already get to leverage the tool.
Yeah. Critical thinking skills. And
Critical
I
thinking.
wrote a post about that. So for me, and I jump into things. I'm not worried that it's going to take my social security number and all of my money is going to, I don't worry about those things at all. Um, what I am concerned with is if you have young kids and sometimes you're like, okay, this homework's too much. And then you just leave them alone and like figure it out on AI because now they haven't developed the critical thinking skills that will allow them to be competitive. And the only reason, especially when you think about from the AI standpoint, the only reason you can get great output is because you have the critical thinking skills to know how to communicate the right way. So one thing I kind of found out too, when I was using the AI, I was like, okay, I need to improve my communication skills some and how I say what I want, because AI will let you know that you're not communicating in a clear way. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the thing that I always think about.
What you just stated, right? When people tell me they don't get what it is that they want from AI, it is because they're not communicating
Correct.
well.
Correct.
The better we communicate and the more details we provide, the better the output. And I use it a lot for my sales funnels and my email sequences.
Mhm.
I mean, we talking, do you want bullet points? Do you want emojis? How many words do you want per sentence? How many words do you want in the total email, right? What is the tone of it? Do you want to, recently I started asking it, I want it to build morale.
Mhm.
And the reason is because our industry was beat up. And if a person has higher self esteem and higher morale, they'll actually sell more real estate.
Makes sense.
And using those words changed the output that makes me sound like I'm a cheerleader
Right.
for the person in which I'm communicating with to help build them up. And
Mhm.
so it's those details. So I'm loving the critical thinking skill. And when we don't get what we want from it, we really need to check in on how we're communicating.
For sure. Yeah. One of those
Wow.
honest truths that we don't know, because who would typically tell us, right? Typically we may have an assistant or we may have a team member, and we're always like, oh my gosh, this person never does specifically what I'm saying that they should do. And then now you know why. So all the
Wow.
time, obviously, but just in case it does happen.
As a LinkedIn expert, when I think about LinkedIn and its application to the world of real estate, instantly I'm thinking working with business development managers from a employer assisted housing standpoint, working with directors of human resource, and then also commercial real estate practitioners who are often doing business to business transactions.
Mhm.
How are you leveraging artificial intelligence in order to build your visibility on LinkedIn?
So one way, and I think this is also great for whether someone's doing commercial real estate or individual sales. So my personality type, high DI, I say I don't like the fluff, right? I get to the point. I say what I need. I say what I'm going after. And not everyone operates that way. Some people, they need to know, how the weather is and what their weekend was like before that they feel comfortable enough to have the conversation. And, it might be my style might be too abrupt for some. So there's actually a tool that I use. It's called Crystal, and it's actually an extension that you can attach as a Chrome extension on LinkedIn. And before you have conversations, and this depends, if you're having those larger deals, mine is more B2B. So it is individual conversations versus your mass messages. So this can tell you what type of personality type they are. Do they need to have a conversation about the weather first? Or do they just want most people, when you think about executive level, their bottom line, don't waste my time, just get to the point, right? So Crystal will go in. It goes through the DISC score, whether you're, let's see if I can remember all of them. Your personality style is dominant, influential. I can't remember the S and C, but we can always discuss that. I think most people who listen go through the DISC. But the S and C, those are more like your computer programmers. They prefer to work on their own with things. So then it tells you that Crystal app, it will tell you this is the type of style this person communicates with, and this is how you should approach them. So you know how with ChatGPT, where you go in and you say, hey, I'd like to write this letter, and these are the circumstances. This is a person. Can you write it in the right style? And ChatGPT is, and sometimes it comes out as authoritative, but also intentional about how you write things. So it pretty much says to you, this is how you should start the conversation. This is how you should start the message. And it tells you everything that you need to know about the person just from their profile and their activity on LinkedIn. So that's one of the great ways. And when I think even from a real estate perspective, I also think, like you've mentioned, the HR directors, I also think about the economic development agencies that are in the cities, because there's and I'm sure all cities have that, but in the Tampa Bay area, we have two different divisions that are in charge of bringing companies to the area. So all they do is nurture. So from a real estate perspective, I think having a relationship with those economic development agencies would be amazing, because as they bring in the companies into the city, now they need someone to house all of those thousands of employees that are coming along the way. So I think that's a great way to use Crystal, ChatGPT, anything when we think about the LinkedIn side.
So I had forgot about Crystal, so I am elated that you brought that to the forefront, right? But now, so we're on LinkedIn, right? We get to understand their personality. We can tag them based on their personality type, even in our customer relationship management system, to make sure we communicate with them in their preferred style.
Mhm.
But when you brought up the economic development, it will write that initial email or any proposal and all follow up email. But one thing that I'm liking right now, two things over in ChatGPT. One would be the projects,
Mhm.
right? So you in real estate, you commercial, you can have your commercial project folder or your economic development folder or your director of human resource folder, right? Or they
Right.
call them projects. And we get to tell it exactly how we want it to operate. But if we're really trying to build that rapport and we set up tasks, then every single day it could send me something to communicate with and following up with whoever that person is and what resources do they need in order to be successful.
Love that. I didn't even think about that standpoint. So I've seen the folders. Tell me, and it's, obviously old school. Is it the old school version of the filing cabinet? Because I've never used it, but I've seen it.
So this is what I would say. It is kind of like a filing cabinet because you can give it 20 reference sources, right?
Mm.
But this is how I want let's look at it like this. And I want to say but not say too much. So let's say you're going to go get a new job, right? And you have to update your resume and you have a lot of skills, right? And you want to apply for multiple jobs based on that skill.
Mhm.
So I would have a project folder for each type of job. And in that job, anything that I've done in the past would be one of the 20 references for that project. But because each of these jobs have a special skill set, I get to give it instructions. So I could give it instructions as, 35 years of experience and everything that you did. So that as you're applying for these jobs, you have this one, big folder, but all of these are like subfolders with special instructions that are
Got
tailored just for that one job title.
got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Love it.
So for LinkedIn, I decided I'm using a tool right now called, is it easy? It's Easy Jan by Ruben Hassid.
Okay, I know each.
Yeah. And it's a writer, right? Well, I don't want to have to pay for this tool for life, right? Because you can train your own tools, right? But I wanted to kind of get an idea and a feel. So what I decided to do is one of my project folders inside of ChatGPT, it's all for the newsletter writer.
Mm.
And then I have a project folder just for Instagram post. But I have all these different projects or folders that have specific rules because if we don't start training it on our voice likeness, when we start using a tool, we'll have to use that tool for life because the tool will get better over time,
Mhm.
which means then we have to pay for it for life.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah. So
Imagine.
yeah. So right now for me, it's how do I leverage the projects in ChatGPT to train it more so that it gets better, as opposed to me having to allocate funds to third party tools.
Got it. Makes complete sense. Yeah. Love that.
So I'm loving ChatGPT. I'm loving Crystal. Do you have any LinkedIn strategies that you've seen work well?
Well, for me, most of it is lead gen and outreach. So I will have, based on who the person is, I will say, and this is something that I used this morning. Because ChatGPT, after a while, my folders are probably not as organized as yours, but after a while, it does have the memory of everything that you've ever told it until it gets full, of course. So I will say, based on typically when people are doing outreach to organizations or B2B, their first go-to is always HR people. I will say, based on everything that we've discussed before, what is it? Who am I not considering that I should? And who is the most overlooked person that most people don't reach out to? Because obviously that gives me a competitive advantage. So, as an example, when we think from the real estate standpoint or anyone else, maybe there's a director of construction within an organization, right? But no one's going to reach out to the director or the VP of construction or new construction, so they don't get hit on as much. So when someone comes in the door and then has a conversation with them that's completely tailored to how they operate and how they think, that will get you on the top of the list more than anything else. So that's what that's what I've started doing today. Because I just realized we're smart people. We can think of a lot of the things based on our decades of experience, but what are we not thinking about?
I love that. So the most undercommunicated person who would have one probably would like some attention.
Correct. And maybe I shouldn't have said it here, but you guys can have it.
Right. And think about this though. They could probably provide some insight that will set you apart from your competitors when you do reach out to that prime person.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Oh, I like that. I like that whole idea of going to that person. Uh, and so coming back and being able to have that tailored conversation with them based on the insight from ChatGPT. But then I'm thinking Perplexity, you can go over there and get the Excel spreadsheet of who these director of construction people are for the bigger companies. And
Right.
then maybe also what organization or associations are they a member of?
For sure. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense. And then you go onto LinkedIn, you look them up and you see what boards they're on, what they're most interested in, where they volunteer their time. Yeah, there's so many opportunities with that.
Ah, how so for leveraging it for lead generation, are you still seeing that people are fearful in becoming a content creator?
What do you mean when you say that?
Okay, so in the world of real estate, what I view as content is putting information out that helps someone to be better at whatever it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
I still have people who believe that their photo shoot or their sales record is considered content. And nowhere are they ever viewed as a thought leader because they've never shared anything that helps people to be better at
Right.
what it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that when ChatGPT came out, that we would have more visible thought leaders.
Same. Yeah, that it would be a lot easier to do.
And that's not the case. So to me, this is consistency, right? And if they weren't consistent before, even though AI makes it easier, I'm not seeing them be any more consistent now.
So here's what I'm seeing happening on that end. So no matter what you do, there's always going to be people who are upset with you just doing the things. You can breathe the wrong way and people are upset. So obviously, when ChatGPT first came out, unleashed, skyrocket emoji, those were all the things that people didn't know or didn't care to even switch out some of the words and make it seem that it was coming from them. Now the big thing, especially, I don't see it too much on Facebook anymore, But the big thing that was happening last year on Facebook where people are like, I can tell you're using AI because you're using these terms. That's really big on LinkedIn right now with the M dash and the all of, I mean, it's just, I think if you just write a post about the M dash, it goes viral. So that's what the big thing is. So from my standpoint, when I think about these professionals who, a lot of them are fearful of putting out content because you're being judged. And then your peers are like, well, who does she think she is? Is she an influencer? So now we have one more thing to add to their hesitancy is because even if we do use AI and even if we use it the right way, at the back of our minds, we're thinking, will our colleagues think that we're using AI? Um, so I think it's an advantage for those who don't worry about that, because the more that you're seen as that thought leader or industry expert or anything else, which is the reason I like to use LinkedIn, when you reach out to people, all they have to do is look at your page and they can see you're the expert that should give time to. And a lot of the times, and when we go back to that director or VP of construction, right? A lot of the times they may not be the right person, but because they look at your background, just a quick 5-minute search on LinkedIn, they feel confident in introducing you to the right person. So I think those are the gaps that we're seeing right now on LinkedIn, but I think we just have to let go of that. So, yeah.
And even well, they'll say, well, that's fake. Is it? I mean, like it pulled everything from the internet, right? What I'm noticing is that enough people to me don't have a voice paragraph, right, to provide that style, that tone, and that voice. And what I know to be a fact, right, from using these tools, even Grammarly, right? I didn't know Grammarly was AI when I was using it in 2015, right? I needed my work corrected, okay?
Right.
But this is what I love. The plagiarism checker that is inside of there. It's letting me know, hey, Marky, this sentence already exists on the internet. And if it's one sentence and then you look at it and you might have said it the same way, now I'm like, okay, give me a synonym.
Right.
Give me a
Right.
synonym. Because I would have said this, right? I would have said this one sentence. To the point now that I would say AI detection and or plagiarism is saying that less than 2% of the time, after I give it that voice paragraph, does this even exist anywhere on the entire internet? And I'm worried about somebody who don't know this. And I'm gonna tell this story. So I had a cousin, and my cousin was mad. And long story short, told me that my response was inconsiderate, disrespectful, went through this long list of things, right? At that point, I had over 6 million words that had been corrected leveraging Grammarly or checked since me starting to use the tool September the 13th, 2015. So my response, every week they send us what your tone is and your sentiment and all that.
Right.
And I went to look at that, and nowhere, none of their critique came up out of the millions of words, right? So I took a screenshot and sent it, and I was like, clearly, you bring the worst in me out. Because according to Grammarly, they've checked, over 6 million words since September the 13th, 2015. I don't need to communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at all these tools and we're leveraging them, they are telling us, they're providing insight that would have cost us tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars before. Yeah. But it's not just about us. It's also about the people we do business with. It's business intel that used to cost us substantially more money that we can get for little to no cost.
Yes. And speed too. So yeah, the competitive advantage and then how fast we can get things out, because clearly we are no longer in an environment where you do the research and then the next step is this and then just launch it.
I love it. Just launch it. What do you believe? What's one thing you plan to implement this year with AI that you haven't had a chance? This could even be accountability. What do you think the next thing is that you should implement?
Let's see. The next thing I should, because I haven't necessarily thought about that since I do a lot with AI. I mean, I will do like little. So here's something that I thought about a long time ago. I will do it for little basic things. Obviously, I work from home. There's a lot of um, content that I do with images that just says I work from home. What I decided that I'm doing, I've set up a lot of different like coffee meetings, tea meetings, just to get outside more. I'm going to tell ChatGPT, this is where I'm going to be today in this environment. What's the best way to capture that in a photo, in an image, based on being at by the pier today? Based on being by the pier, where can I capture a photo to write content about it? So that's something that I haven't done ever that I was thinking about I'm going to do because I've done it for a photo shoot with ChatGPT before. I'm not a great poser. So I was just like, I actually took a photo of the environment. I said, this is the environment. Can you set up a few shots for my photo shoot? So that's what I'll be doing, as I start to do a lot of networking offline.
Actually, that's genius. And let me tell you why. I am the person that has a professional photo shoot done every 5 years, probably averages 6 years, right? To the point that my husband one time told me, Marky, you do know those pictures are old as hell. Like it was
Yeah, said that.
it was an insult. And then I started talking to myself and I'm like, those pictures aren't that old. What is he talking about? And then I start counting years. I'm like, oh, those pictures are old as hell, right? I haven't had a photo shoot done in, at that time it was 7 years. Then I had a 6 year gap between the last one. Now I'm at 2 years, right? But I'm saying this because I'm not the person who is going to likely set the time aside to do one every year. But what I can do is leverage ChatGPT the way you're leveraging it and ask for advice and where I should take these pictures when you're having these meetings so that you're capturing ongoing content and you'll have those landmarks to be the person who stands out or the thought leader in your marketplace. Or if nothing else, you pick the greatest meeting location.
For sure. For sure.
And you can have all of this relevant, not just any old content and you just get a selfie, right? But relevant content for your business. So it's actually genius and you would get way more content that is timely.
Yeah. And everything's content. And I even thought of an idea. I love that we're having this conversation because even thinking about, like, say you are having like a prospect breakfast or lunch, and you know that this person enjoys X, Y, and Z, or if we're doing dinner, they enjoy a white wine. We could do it. And ChatGPT, what is it? It's a few months behind or 6 months behind. But it's still about, hey, what's the best restaurant in the XYZ area where they're known for their great white wines from Italy, whatever. So just to be able to impress people with little things like that.
I love it. So, Deborah, if someone wants to be very intentional and leverage LinkedIn for the purpose of building their business, how do they connect with you in order to hire you to help them?
Sure. My moniker is the LinkedIn Black Belt. So if you go on LinkedIn and you do hashtag the LinkedIn Black Belt or search by my name, Deborah Ashley, you'll find it. I also have an authority toolkit that they can actually grab if they want to start putting out content on LinkedIn. It's the most intimidating thing, no matter how experienced you are. So I put together these prompts and these little toolkits and the way to engage and all the tools that you will need. Whether you've been on LinkedIn for years and you're just getting back on, even has a roadmap. Have you been on LinkedIn for years and you're just getting back on there? Have you never used LinkedIn? Do this route. So I kind of walk them through how to start to think about using LinkedIn from that perspective. So yeah, Deborah Ashley on all platforms or hashtag the LinkedIn Black Belt, or they can look for my authority kit.
Well, Deborah, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to go and implement Crystal. I'm thinking economic development. I'm going to enhance my photo shoot, leveraging artificial intelligence based on your advice. Thank you for being willing to come and share your expertise with us again.
And thanks for having me, Marquis. Thanks to everyone in the audience.